The marble is still warm, not from sunlight, from blood. You're standing in what used to be the throne room of the Byzantine emperors. Shattered mosaics crunch beneath boots, Ottoman boots now. Through smoke-stained windows, Constantinople burns. A city that stood for 1100 years, reduced to ash and screaming in a single morning. And in the center of this devastation stands a girl, 15 years old, hands blackened with kitchen soot, hair chopped short, uneven, desperate. She's wearing a servant's rough wool, but it doesn't matter. They found her anyway. Princess Theodora Palaiologos, last daughter of Byzantium. Across from her, seated on a portable throne that still smells like siege camps and gunpowder, sits the man who destroyed her world, Sultan Mehmed II, 21 years old, dark eyes burning with something between triumph and calculation. His commanders stand behind him, arms crossed, waiting. They know what comes next. Everyone knows what comes next. Islamic law is clear about the fate of noble captives after a city taken by storm. 3 days of pillage, 3 days where everything and everyone belongs to the victors. The girl's breathing is shallow. She's trying not to shake. The Sultan is silent. Outside, the screaming continues. But what Mehmed does in the next 72 hours, what he decides about this girl in this moment, will reveal something about conquest that neither side wanted history to remember. A decision so unexpected, it was buried in archives for centuries. Lost in the propaganda of two empires who both needed simpler stories. Because sometimes the most dangerous truth isn't about the brutality of war, it's about the mercy that follows. What do you do with the princess of a fallen empire, and why would the conqueror who just unleashed hell on her city make a choice that defied every rule of medieval warfare? Before we cross that threshold again, let me be direct. This kind of research, the type that challenges comfortable historical narratives, survives on your support. If this matters to you, hit that like and subscribe button. It's what keeps us deep in the archives, searching for the history that was never meant to be found. Now, back to May 29th, 1453, back to the day the world changed forever. 57 days earlier, spring 1453, the world's oldest Christian empire is dying, and you can smell it in the air. Constantinople, the queen of cities, 11 centuries old. It survived the Huns when Rome fell. It survived the Arabs. It even survived the Crusaders, who sacked it in 1204. Its walls, built by Emperor Theodosius in 413 AD, have never been breached by force. Until now. 80,000 Ottoman warriors surround the city. 200 warships choke the Golden Horn. And on the hills, those shapes that make veterans cross themselves, cannons. One of them is 27 feet long, designed by a Hungarian engineer named Orban, who came to Constantinople first. The Byzantines couldn't afford him, so he went to the Ottomans. When it fires, the ground trembles 3 miles away. The stone balls weigh 1,200 pounds. They hit walls that have stood for over 1,000 years, and the impact sounds like the world cracking open. Inside, 7,000 defenders. Greeks, Venetians, Genoese, men who've done the mathematics and know exactly how this ends. Church bells ring without stopping. Priests carry icons older than most kingdoms, praying for miracles. Citizens barricade their doors because everyone knows the law. After a city falls by force, the victorious army gets 3 days to take whatever they want. In the Great Palace lives what's left of the Palaiologos dynasty. Emperor Constantine XI is 48 years old, unmarried, childless. He knows he's going to die defending his capital. That's not doubt, that's certainty. But his extended family, cousins, nephews, distant relations, they're still here, still living in marble halls that echo too much now. Among them is Theodora, 15 years old, educated in Greek classics and Latin, fluent in Arabic, the kind of accomplishments that mean nothing when cannons are tearing your walls apart. What she wants is impossible, for tomorrow to be like yesterday. What she fears is specific, becoming one of the thousands of captives distributed like livestock after the city falls. She doesn't know it yet, but in 57 days she'll face a 21-year-old conqueror in a blood-soaked throne room, and her survival will depend on something stranger than luck or beauty. It will depend on the psychology of a young sultan trying to prove he's more than a warlord. Across those walls, Sultan Mehmed II stares at maps by candlelight. 21 years old. Can't sleep. He's been sultan twice already. First at 12. Overthrown within 2 years. Too young, too weak. His father came back, ruled until he died, and left Mehmed to try again at 19. European courts call him the boy sultan. His own janissaries doubt him, and everywhere he turns, there's his father's ghost. Murad the Great. Mehmed is short, stocky, eyes that witnesses describe as burning. He speaks 6 languages, studies Alexander the Great obsessively, sleeps with a copy of Arrian's campaigns under his pillow. He doesn't just want to conquer Constantinople, he wants to become Caesar. Not symbolically, literally, the legitimate Roman emperor. Because Constantinople isn't just a city, it's legitimacy itself. The capital of an empire that ruled for 1,000 years. Take it, and you become the heir to Augustus. To Constantine. Fail, and his reign ends. 57 days of feeding 80,000 soldiers. The treasury is bleeding. His advisors whisper betrayal. But there's something else in Mehmed's mind. Something his generals don't see yet. He isn't just planning a conquest, he's planning a transformation. And that changes everything about what happens to the girl in the palace who has 57 days left before her world ends. If this moment in history doesn't move you to understand how empires truly fall, not with glory, but with terror and impossible choices, you might be missing the lesson written in blood on those marble floors. Stay with me, because what happens next reveals something about human nature that neither conquerors nor conquered wanted us to see. May 28th, 1453, one day before the end. In the great palace, Theodora's mother is cutting her daughter's hair. Rough cuts, chunks falling to marble floors. Theodora sits perfectly still, watching black strands scatter. Her mother's name is lost to history. The chronicles call her Lady Euphrosyne, if they mention her at all. Right now her hands shake as she stains Theodora's fingers with kitchen soot, dresses her in coarse wool that scratches. Noble women will be claimed as prizes, she whispers. Servants might be overlooked. She doesn't say the rest, doesn't need to. Let them think you're worthless. That evening, Mehmed makes an offer that shocks his commanders. Surrender now. Everyone leaves safely. Constantine can rule the Peloponnese as an Ottoman vassal. No blood, no siege. A messenger rides to the palace under a white flag. Constantine receives him in armor under his imperial robes. According to the chronicler Francis, who was there, the emperor's response is calm. To surrender the city is beyond my authority or anyone else's who lives in it. For all of us have decided to die of our own free will, the messenger rides back. Mehmed's face shows nothing, but he gives the order immediately. Final assault, dawn, 2 rulers, 2 impossible positions, 1 throne that only one of them will leave alive. That night, the entire city flows toward the Hagia Sophia, Orthodox and Catholic together, for the first time in decades. Their theological hatreds forgotten in the face of death. Thousands pack the cathedral, candles flickering against gold mosaics, voices rising in desperate prayer. Theodora kneels among them in her disguise, unrecognizable now. Just another servant girl. Around her, old men weep, men who remember when Constantinople had 300,000 citizens. Young mothers hold children who will never grow old. Outside, Ottoman drums begin their rhythm. Slow at first, then faster, louder. 80,000 voices roar, Allahu Akbar. The chronicler Ducas wrote that the sound was so loud, the earth itself seemed to answer back. Inside the Hagia Sophia, prayers falter, then resume, louder, more desperate. Theodora's lips move with the words, but she's not praying anymore. She's memorizing the mosaics, the incense, her mother's hand gripping hers. This is the last moment of the world she knows. They return to the palace near midnight. Streets empty, everyone barricaded, waiting. Theodora lies in darkness, listening to her mother breathe. Neither speaks. What is there to say when you're waiting for the world to end? In the Ottoman camp, soldiers sharpen blades. Check armor, pray. Mehmed walks among them, stops at different fires, speaks in their languages. Turkish, Arabic, Persian. Promises paradise or plunder, whichever they prefer. But he's not thinking about tomorrow's assault anymore. He's thinking about what comes after. After the walls fall, after the city burns, after the 3 days of pillage his men expect. What comes after conquest? His generals think the answer is simple: loot, slaves, glory. But Mehmed wants something they don't understand yet. He wants to be Caesar, not a conqueror, an emperor, the legitimate heir to Rome itself. And emperors don't just destroy, they transform. The question is whether his men will let him. At 1 a.m, the drums begin in earnest. In the palace, Theodora jerks awake. Her mother stands at the window, watching the horizon light up with watchfires. It's starting. Theodora rises, still in her servant's disguise, soot still on her hands. They don't embrace, just stand together as the drums get louder and the first screams carry over the walls. The last dawn of Byzantium is breaking, and neither of them knows that in less than 8 hours, Theodora will face a conqueror who's supposed to claim her like a trophy, but won't. May 29th, 1453, 1 a.m, 3 waves crash against the walls like a human tide. First, the irregulars, expendable troops meant to exhaust the defenders. They die by the hundreds. Arrows, boiling oil, rocks, more keep coming. Second wave, Anatolian regulars, disciplined, armoured, methodical. The defenders are tired now, running out of arrows, running out of strength. Third wave, the Janissaries, elite troops. The Sultan's personal guard, trained since childhood. They don't charge, they flow forward like steel, and where they press, the walls crack. 5 a.m, catastrophe. Giovanni Giustiniani, the Genoese commander leading the defence, takes an arrow through his breastplate. He panics, demands to be taken to his ships. When his Italian mercenaries see their commander fleeing, their formation breaks. Just like that. Professional soldiers who held this wall for 57 days simply step back, lower their weapons, start looking for ways out. The Ottomans smell blood, press harder. Then someone notices the Kirka gate, a small postern usually kept locked. Someone forgot to close it after a nighttime sortie. An Ottoman soldier named Ulu Batla Hassan sees it, rushes through with 30 men. They raise the Ottoman banner where Byzantine soldiers can see it. Enemy flags inside the walls. Morale shatters like glass. Men abandon their posts, running, looking for family, looking for boats, looking for anywhere that isn't here. Emperor Constantine XI sees it happening, tears off his imperial regalia, and charges into the thickest fighting, shouting, "The city has fallen, and I am still alive." His body is never definitively identified. The last Roman emperor vanishes into the violence like smoke. By 8 a.m, Ottoman soldiers pour through 6 breach points. The city that stood for 1100 years falls in 7 hours. What follows is one of the most brutal days in medieval history. Soldiers ransack every home. Citizens barricaded inside are smoked out or burned alive. Men cut down in streets. Women and children rounded up like livestock. Between 30 and 50,000 enslaved that day. The Hagia Sophia becomes a trap. Thousands fled there for sanctuary. Ottoman troops break down the bronze doors, drag out priests mid-prayer, select the most valuable captives, beautiful women, strong young men, children who can be trained. The great palace falls by mid-morning. Ottoman soldiers burst through marble corridors, tearing down crosses, hunting for the imperial family. Some nobles choose suicide, others hide in cisterns, cellars, secret passages. Theodora, dressed as a kitchen servant, presses herself into a storage room behind amphorae of olive oil, heart hammering, listening to boots thunder past, to screams echoing through corridors where she once danced. Hours pass, the frenzy becomes systematic. Eventually, they find her. Her hands, too soft, her voice, too refined. Kitchen soot can't hide 15 years of court training. Noon, Mehmed rides a white Arabian stallion through the Adrianople gates. He proceeds directly to the Hagia Sophia. Not to destroy it, to claim it. He picks up a handful of dirt and pours it over his turban. Islamic gesture of humility, enters the 1,000-year-old cathedral and declares, "This shall become a mosque." An imam recites the call to prayer. The greatest church in Christendom becomes Hagia Sophia, Karmai. But then, Mehmed does something no one expected. He orders the pillaging stopped immediately, after only 1 day instead of 3. Soldiers grumble but obey. He announces that citizens hiding will not be harmed. Former residents can return. Churches will be protected. He isn't just conquering a city, he's declaring himself the legitimate Roman emperor. And emperors need subjects to rule, not corpses to bury. His Grand Vizier compiles lists of captured nobility, among them a teenage girl found hiding in the palace, disguised as a servant. Princess Theodora is brought to the throne room. The marble hall smells of smoke, shattered mosaics crunch underfoot, bloodstains darken the floor. Mehmed sits on his portable throne, wearing white silk and an enormous turban with a jeweled brooch, deliberately echoing Roman imperial regalia. Theodora is pushed forward, still in servant's clothing, terrified. Ottoman protocol demands she prostrate herself. She stands frozen. Mehmed studies her, then speaks in Greek, fluently. "You are of the Palaiologos line?" "I am." "Where is your father?" "Dead in the siege." The throne room holds its breath. His commanders expect him to claim her as a concubine. Standard practice. The Byzantine attendants expect execution or enslavement. Mehmed asks one more question. "Can you read and write?" Greek, Latin, and some Arabic. Silence. Then the unthinkable happens. Sultan Mehmed II orders Princess Theodora released, not as a slave, not as a concubine, as a free woman under state protection. He assigns her a stipend, a residence in the Fanar district, permission to practice Christianity openly. The room erupts in confused whispers. This moment, this single decision in a blood-soaked throne room, is why this story was buried by both sides. Western chroniclers wanted tales of Ottoman brutality to fuel crusades. Ottoman historians wanted tales of military triumph. Neither wanted this, a 21-year-old conqueror showing mercy that defied the logic of conquest. If stories like this, of impossible choices and unexpected humanity in history's darkest hours, matter to you, hit that subscribe button, because the past isn't simple. It's never been simple. And remembering that might be the most important thing we can do. Why did he do it? That's the question that haunts historians. Why would a 21-year-old conqueror, fresh from the greatest military victory of the century, show mercy to the daughter of the empire he just destroyed? The answer is in the title he claimed for himself, Caesari Rum, Caesar of Rome. Mehmed didn't just want to conquer Constantinople, he wanted to become it. To be the legitimate Roman emperor, he needed continuity with the Byzantine past, not its obliteration. By showing mercy to the imperial family, he demonstrated magnanimitas, a Roman virtue. By protecting Christians, he positioned himself as ruler of all his subjects, not just Muslims. But it went deeper than propaganda. Some historians, including Franz Babinger, suggest Mehmed may have contemplated marrying a Byzantine princess to cement his claim as the true successor to Constantine the Great. Whether Theodora was considered for this role remains uncertain, but the unprecedented mercy shown to her suggests calculation beyond simple conquest. And Mehmed didn't stop with Theodora. He appointed Gennadios Scholarios, a prominent Byzantine scholar, as the new Orthodox Patriarch, granted him civil authority over all Orthodox Christians in the empire. A Muslim sultan empowering a Christian religious leader. Unheard of. The message was clear. This wasn't the end of Byzantium. This was its transformation under new management. Princess Theodora lived under Ottoman protection for 3 years in Constantinople, part of a small Byzantine community that Mehmed deliberately preserved. She witnessed the transformation. Mosques rising alongside churches, Greek scholars entering Ottoman service, the Sultan establishing libraries and universities. In 1456, she was permitted to leave for the Morea, the Peloponnese, where remnants of the Byzantine Empire still flickered under Ottoman suzerainty. Later, accounts suggest she married a minor noble, lived until approximately 1480, died in obscurity, but in freedom. Her story was suppressed for different reasons by each side. Western European chroniclers preferred narratives of Ottoman brutality. Mercy complicated their calls for crusade. How do you rally Christian armies against an enemy who protects Christian princesses? Ottoman historians focused on Mehmed's military genius. His protective policies toward Christians suggested uncomfortable complexity. Better to tell simple stories of conquest, but not everyone was so fortunate. Thousands remained enslaved, sold in markets from Cairo to Crimea. The intellectual elite, scholars, theologians, artists, scattered across Italy, taking Byzantine knowledge that would fuel the Italian Renaissance. The fall of Constantinople triggered the European age of exploration. Trade routes through Ottoman territory became costly and dangerous. Spain and Portugal sought new paths to Asia. Within 40 years, Columbus would sail west, looking for India, and stumble into the Americas. One city's fall changed the entire world's trajectory. Documents preserved in Ottoman archives tell a story both sides tried to forget. Mehmed's decrees protecting Byzantine nobility, his appointments of Christians to administrative posts, his preservation of Greek scholarship. These reveal a ruler trying to build a cosmopolitan empire, not a religious state. The irony is profound. The conqueror who destroyed the Byzantine Empire also preserved its people more effectively than the Byzantine emperors themselves, who had been plagued by civil wars, theological disputes, and economic collapse for 2 centuries. Approximately 15,000 Greeks remained in Constantinople under protected status. They formed the basis of the Greek Fana community that would administer Ottoman Orthodox populations for 4 centuries. The girl who hid behind olive oil jars became part of something neither side wanted to acknowledge: survival through transformation, continuity through conquest. And the young Sultan, who everyone called a boy, proved he understood something his generals didn't. Empires aren't built by destroying everything that came before. They're built by absorbing it. Here's what haunts me about this story. We want history to be simple. Monsters and heroes, victims and victors, clean lines between good and evil. But Theodora's survival, and the survival of thousands like her, reveals something more uncomfortable. A 21-year-old sultan who permitted slaughter could also show strategic mercy that saved thousands. A 15-year-old princess who lost everything could survive through her mother's cunning, her own adaptability, and a conqueror's hunger for legitimacy. Empires don't end cleanly. Victors need their victims more than they admit. Survival often comes not from compassion, but from the powerful's need to be seen as legitimate. This is the truth buried in palace archives, the truth that makes everyone uncomfortable. Because if conquerors can show mercy for strategic reasons, and if conquered peoples can find ways to survive, even thrive, under new rulers, then our simple narratives collapse. History becomes messier, more human, more true. How many other princesses, scribes, common people slipped through the cracks of catastrophe because someone powerful needed them alive. How many stories like Theodora's were buried because they complicated the propaganda of both sides? And what does it say about us, about our own time, that we still prefer simple stories of brutality or triumph to the complicated truth of survival? Picture that throne room one last time, a girl who should have died, standing before a sultan barely older than herself. Both trapped in roles history assigned them, both finding unexpected paths through the rubble of empire. Mercy and massacre walked hand in hand through the burning streets of Constantinople. And sometimes the most important question isn't who won, it's who survived and why, and what that survival cost. The historian Critouvulos wrote decades later, "The city that had endured for more than 1,000 years fell in a single morning. But the people, some of them, endured much longer. And in that endurance lies a truth more complex than any chronicle of glory or defeat." You've just witnessed one of history's most uncomfortable truths, where conquest and mercy became impossible to separate. If stories like this remind you how fragile humanity is, how complex the past really was, and how much we still have to learn from the archives both sides wanted to forget, subscribe to Crimson Historians and keep the past alive. Because the darkest secrets of history aren't about the brutality we expect. They're about the humanity we never saw coming.